Let me see if everyone's in. Bueno, buenos días a los que ya están adentro. Vamos a darle unos cuantos segundos a los que puedan entrar. O arrancamos de una vez. Vamos. Bueno. Let's do this in English, guys, because the presentation will be in English. So, welcome everyone. We'll hear about the UK Global Screen Fund. I think this is a very good opportunity for the Dominican producers to learn about other funds and to join forces with other foreign co-producers, such as the UK producers. The UK Global Screen Fund is quite new and recent. I understand it has more or less a year. We met Attica and Janita in Cannes, and I think it was an amazing experience to learn about this fund and have them here today with us to learn from them what they have to offer is something quite interesting for us. So let's hear what the fund has to offer, what are the requirements and the eligibility criteria, what other co-production experiences they've had with Latin American countries, because they've had already some co-production experiences. And I'm now going to do a small introduction in Spanish. Bueno, señores, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Vamos a conocer un poco del UK Global Screen Fund. Esto es una oportunidad para los productores dominicanos de conocer otras oportunidades de coproducción con países como el Reino Unido. El equipo de este fondo lo conocimos mientras estuvimos en Cannes, en una oportunidad única, y nos pareció muy interesante traer esa oportunidad a ustedes. Aquí está Attica y Anitza, que estarán presentando cuáles son los requisitos para aplicar este fondo, en qué consiste el fondo. Y bueno, capaz que nos mencionen una que otra experiencia de coproducción que han tenido con países de Latinoamérica, porque sí, ya la han tenido. Yanitza, Attica, the floor is yours. And thank you for having us or joining us.
Gracias. Buenos días a todos. I will not go in Spanish because I will embarrass myself quite quickly. But I'm Denitza. I'm head of the UK Global Screen Fund, and I'm joined by Attica, my colleague who manages the co-production strand. And we're here today to tell you a bit more about our fund. Our fund is very new. As Mariana mentioned, we were launched last year, so we were in pilot year. But I'm happy to confirm that we were extended at the beginning of this year for 3 more years. And our budget is 7 million. And we have a slide pack to share with you, which explains what the fund is about and shows you a little bit more information about our co-production strand. So if we start with what the fund is about, which is on the next slide. The fund is really designed to promote international partnerships and international development and distribution opportunities for UK companies in the wider independent screen sector. And really, it is international in spirit in all of the funding programs and non-funded activities that we do. It's financed by the UK government, the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport, and it's administered by the British Film Institute. And it aims to grow the revenues and sustainability of independent UK screen companies by supporting them to participate in international activities, to form and deepen international partnerships, and to develop projects with international appeal that allow them to collaborate with production companies in other territories. It's really intended to both promote collaborations, but also enable the UK companies to think internationally and to broaden the reach of UK screen content with international audiences. To do that, we have 3 contestable funding strands and a non-funded program, which really takes the form of a direct-to-consumer promotional platform called Screen UK, which promotes UK new releases to consumers internationally. Most of the focus of this presentation will be on our funded program and in particular on our co-production strand. So moving on to the next slide, this is going to be a very quick overview of the structure of the fund before we dig into international co-production. So we have 3 funding strands. And in our pilot year, we made a total of 75 awards across these 3 strands. The strands are international distribution, which provide support for UK films to be distributed internationally, so to reach audiences internationally. And this strand is under review. In its pilot year, it was focused around providing enhanced sales support via the UK sales agents for UK films which were being sold in markets or going to festivals. And oftentimes it took the shape of dubs or enhanced marketing, PR, and some talent attendance support towards festival attendance. In its next iteration, which we hope to launch by the end of the year, some of the support will continue, but we will introduce a new track which will provide print and advertising support intended to help directly international distributors of UK films by providing them with support to really maximize releases of UK films internationally. So this will be launched a little bit later this year. Business development is the next strand, which is available for support UK companies across the wider UK screen sector, which includes, in this case, games, distribution companies, film and TV companies. And it provides grants between 50 and 200,000 pounds for UK independent screen sector companies looking to develop international growth strategies, which directly enhance their reach or their partnership with international companies or on the international arena. This strand is slated to be relaunched in the end of July. Lastly, the focus of this presentation and one of the most important strands for us is the international co-production strand, where we made 11 awards in the pilot year across a range of territories, including Latin America. And this provides grants of up to £300,000 for primarily UK minority feature films, where the UK is the minority party, financially speaking, towards budget contribution, or for minority and majority TV productions, which are co-productions in the genres of animation and documentary only. The entire scheme provides awards in the form of grants, which are non-recoupable. So in none of the strands do we take an equity position, which also informs the way we evaluate projects and the stages at which projects need to be to apply to the fund. So to give you a bit of background on what this means for international co-production projects, I will let Attica take you through a few slides that explain the co-production strand in more detail.
Thank you. Can we move to the next slide, please? So the international co-production strand is open now, and it will close on the 26th of July. And it will then, so if you have any projects, please do talk to us. And can we move to the next slide, please? I will just talk to you briefly about the aims and impacts of the international co-production strand, which are tied to the bigger UK Global Screen Fund, and which are to increase the number of international co-production projects that the UK is involved with, to support UK producers to work as partners in international co-productions, increase their visibility on the international stage, and increase the track record of UK producers, and also to support more international relationships, whether it is with new markets that the UK producers haven't worked with, or to increase the reciprocity, so to strengthen relationships with markets that they have worked already. Next slide, please. The main point, as Richa mentioned, is this strand distributes non-recoupable grants of up to 300,000. Projects can be in any language. So we did fund some projects that were in Spanish, for example, and in German. Applications will need to be made by the UK co-production company. And we are open both to official and unofficial co-productions. Official co-productions means that are those co-productions that are made via the 12 bilateral treaties or the European Convention, and unofficial co-productions generally are made whether, for example, there is a TV project or if there is no treaty. We are open to first-time directors, but we will check out whether they have some short film track record that has been, for example, at festivals, or some theater track record. But we do require, we will look at the track record of the international co-producer and of the UK producer, but I will give you a bit more detail in a second. We only can fund the UK elements. Those can happen, so it doesn't matter where the production shoots. It can be inside the UK or outside the UK, but we can only fund the UK elements, meaning, for example, a DOP shooting in the Dominican Republic, or an UK actor working in the Dominican Republic. So it can be anywhere, but it needs to be an UK element, or post-production as well. But we don't like to see projects where there's only post-production costs, so there needs to be spread across post-production, creative elements, and pre-production. So the strand is open now and will close in, I think, 3 weeks. But we will have, so for this year we will only have 1 round, but starting from next year we will have 2 rounds. One probably opening around February, March, and the other one in the autumn, but we don't have the dates yet. Next slide, please. So this slide is about the eligibility. So as Anicha mentioned, we fund minority co-productions, feature films in animation, documentary, and fiction, and also TV projects, but only in animation and documentary, but they can be majority and minority for the TV. For all productions, the requirements to entry are that 60% of the finance must be in place, excluding the UK tax relief. The UK Global Screen Fund funding can only be 50% of the UK financial share. So that means that the UK producer will have to attract some other money on the other part of the financial share. And this can be money coming either from the UK or outside the UK. So it can be any private money, it can be an MG from a French sales agent, for example. It can be public funding like Screen Scotland or Northern Ireland Screen or Film Kimber Wales. Can be BBC money, but it cannot be BFI production money, so they are not compatible. All projects will need to be British qualifying, either under the treaties or the cultural test. And we will look at a track record. So the UK producer will need to have at least 1 credit, on-screen credit, that has had international or UK distribution on a long feature project. Another requirement for this strand is we tend to come in at a later stage, so we will need projects to shoot within 6 months of the deadline, which is in this case is 31st of January 2023. But we have a different criteria for documentaries, where we have a completion date which needs to be by 18 months after the deadline, which is for this deadline is January 2024. We don't allow projects to have started production, excluding documentaries and animation. And we obviously, following the treaties, there needs to be minimum 10 or 20% minimum financial and creative contribution. In case of unofficial co-productions, we will mimic that. So we will expect a minimum of 10 or 20%. For TV projects, we only support animations and documentaries. If the UK is a majority partner, we need to have at least 3 broadcasters from different territory attached. If it's a minority co-production, it's 2 broadcasters from different territories. It can also include platforms, and it can also include broadcasters from the UK. And it is open for single projects or animation, episodic or documentary projects with a minimum aggregated duration of 24 minutes. We will allow theatrical release, but the production will have been intended for broadcast. And as I mentioned, for film, we allow animation, documentary, and fiction. Next slide, please. So the way that we assess is different from the bigger BFI production fund, which is a more creative assessment. The way we assess is an audience potential. So if you look at our guidelines, there is a table with all these criteria that you see here: international growth, finance plan, funding outcomes, track record and team additionality and UK-wide benefits, meaning that we will look at, for example, international growth. Is there any sales agent attached? Is there any pre-sales? What is the audience potential for the project? Is it able to travel across the UK? So is it able to reach international audiences? What does it mean for the UK company? Does it allow them to grow to the next stage, to form new relationships? Similarly, for the finance plan, we will look at how much of the finance is in place, so the more the better. And also, what are the outcomes? Is any skills, any new skills in co-productions, any new relationships, any revenues? And then track record, we will look at as I mentioned, how track record of both of the international and the UK producers, and then additionality, whether this project needs public funding, and then UK-wide benefits, whether there's any benefit to one of the nations or the regions like Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. And then we will also, our diversity standard manager will look at the diversity standards which will need to be met, and then we will also look at what is done we asked for the BAFTA Albert certification to be met, but for minority co-productions, we accept any equivalent approach that works for the international counterpart. Next slide, please. And finally, so we have been in the pilot year and extended for 3 years. In the pilot year, we have awarded 1.7 million in the first year. And for this year, we are looking between 1.7 and 2 million. And as you can see, there's we funded 8 feature films and 3 TV projects, of which 2 animation and 2 documentary projects. We worked with 13 different territories. You can see there's one film called The Settlers, where we have partnered, or the UK producer has partnered with Latin American countries, including Chile and Argentina. And then you can see a variety of other projects from Canada to South Africa and China and France. I think that's it from my side. I think Denitsa wanted to add some more.
Yes, this is obviously a contact information, and we're available to answer any questions for projects, especially if you're thinking of potentially applying in this round, which is by July 26th. But I wanted to mention, to put this fund in context with other funding opportunities in the UK and within BFI. As some of you are aware, we have a bigger sister fund called BFI Film Fund, which continues to support co-productions, both majority and minority. The distinctions between this fund and the BFI Film Fund are that the BFI Film Fund usually gets involved in earlier stages as well, so they support development as well as production. We only support production, and we come towards the end when 60% of the finance is secured, and we take market verification of the potential of the story itself. So we don't have a very rigorous editorial criteria. We don't give notes. We don't take equity position, and our funding is structured as a grant. So in deciding where to apply, it's useful to know that this fund is designed specifically and for the first time for us at the BFI around co-productions and minority co-productions for feature films. So the creative origination doesn't need to be from the UK, as long as there's a good experience for the UK producer, and there's as Attica mentioned, involvement not only in post-production but in some of the creative elements for UK cast, talent, crew, producer, etc. In terms of the fund and its compatibility, if you're making a decision whether to apply for production support, you have to choose between BFI Film Fund or this fund. You can't be awarded in both. And when you're thinking about other opportunities for funding or co-producing with the UK, it's useful to know that if you're awarded in this fund, in UK Global Screen Fund, in the co-production strand, you are eligible, and it's actually a big positive if you're also receiving support from any of the regional or national funds. What that means is that each of the nations of the UK, so Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, have their own production support, which co-productions could be eligible for, including some of the regional funds like Screen Yorkshire. Sometimes you have to meet certain requirements, such as minimum spend within the region or shooting in the region. But if you receive a grant from those funds, the support is compatible. Excuse me. Is compatible with the UK Global Screen Fund. So you can have support from multiple pockets in the UK. Thank you. I just wanted to add that as a context to the wider funding environment.
And we can take any questions now if you would like to.
Hello, thank you very much, Denitza and Attica, for your time and for explaining. We can proceed now with any questions that you may have. Let me verify. Yes. Okay, so some of the questions we're having already. It's from Minerva's Producciones. Do we have a co-production treaty, DR UK? Currently, there's no co-production treaty between Dominican Republic and the UK. That's something we're exploring from our side with the help also from the Dominican Embassy in the UK. However, you can still apply to the fund. It doesn't need to be under the wing of a UK co-production treaty. And then I'll answer this question as well in Spanish for the others that are not. So, la pregunta fue si tenemos algún acuerdo de coproducción entre la República Dominicana y el Reino Unido. Actualmente no hay un acuerdo de coproducción entre ambos países, pero estamos explorando posibilidades sobre este acuerdo. No obstante, aunque no existe este acuerdo, pueden aplicar al UK Global Screen Fund, como comentaban Attica y Denitza, en base a los requerimientos.
Yeah, so for example, we funded the settlers.
Las posibilidades para coproducción, hay muchos fondos, como mencionaban, no solamente el UK Global Screen Fund, pero también el BFI Film Fund. Entonces existen muchas oportunidades para coproducir con el Reino Unido.
Yeah, and I would like to add, so the key here is to find the right UK co-producer in order to access those funds. Ahí la clave es encontrar el coproductor de UK para poder acceder a estos fondos. I'm not sure if Attica or Denitza want to add anything else.
Do you want to go ahead? I was just going to say that because there is no treaty, obviously we would expect. Oh, sorry. We would expect the unofficial co-production route. I'll go on mute. This is sounds horrible. But I'm hoping you're hearing this feedback. So I was saying that we would expect that applicants will potentially be pursuing unofficial co-production routes because there's no existing treaty between the UK and the Dominican Republic. You will again need to be able to qualify as British, which will basically be under the points test. We can, for any projects that are considering this route, we can introduce you to our colleagues at BFI certification team who can take advanced queries and help guide you through this process.
Yeah, and just to add, the film that we funded, The Settlers, was exactly an unofficial co-production, which was with Chile, France, Denmark, Argentina. So that would work for our fund.
Okay, great. We have another question. Do you have the estimated dates for next year's open call for the fund?
So the earliest window next year, we will clarify the dates once we have closed this window, but it will be February or March, and we'll make sure that the dates are notified sufficiently in advance for this window and for the next one. But I think tentatively expect February and March for the first window, and then the second will probably be July, August. But we will make sure that those dates are, once they're set, they're available sufficiently in advance.
Great. We'll also keep them posted.
You're on mute.
Sorry. The other question is, can a co-production, what are the steps for a co-production with the UK regarding Dominican Republic already established movie. But then you were mentioning that you have certain requirements as well, that it's a movie that hasn't been shot. So if you can.
Yeah, so to be eligible to apply, you cannot have started production unless it is a documentary and animation project. But you will also need to start principal photography by 6 months of the closing of the deadline.
Ok, en español, básicamente, para aplicar al fondo de UK Global Screen Fund, no pueden haber iniciado la producción o el rodaje de la película. Okay, the next question we have is, can a screenwriter apply to these funds?
No, it will need to be the UK producer with a UK production company in the UK.
Okay. La respuesta es que tiene que aplicar el productor de UK a los fondos con quien van a hacer la coproducción. No puede aplicar un guionista. Well, great. I think this has been all from the questions we've had from our side. Let me see. Okay, we have somebody else having comments.
Yeah, I see some people want to have projects, so they are very happy to take calls with them. If they can email us, we can take one-to-ones or meetings.
That would be great. We could
But
start.
it's very important for you to have identified your UK co-producing partner, or at least to have an idea of who that might be, because what we can't do is we can't necessarily matchmake you. I mean, we try to obviously do events like the event in Cannes where we introduce you, but we're not a direct matchmaking service.
Exactly. This comes to another question. Then how can they contact with UK producers? How can we start this dynamic between them?
So we are trying together with our colleagues in the BFI International Fund to create opportunities for producers to meet, especially if there's a delegation of Dominican Republic producers coming to London. We'll try to organize opportunity to be introduced. I think in the absence of direct matchmaking, which we cannot do as a cultural institution, I would advise people in the meantime to look at the producers that we funded in our pilot year. Because those awards are public on our website. So you can see who might have interest co-producing with Latin America. We mentioned the project already. Also, the British Film Council has a list of UK productions, which includes co-productions. So you may be able to identify producers that might be active in Dominican Republic or Latin America. And what we hope to do is an ambition for us for the future is to be able to create actually a directory. We can have some of that information, but we are still in the early stages of planning. So bear with us as we develop this, because we are aware that that's very important to make those connections. I think it is, if you are considering, for example, events like the London Film Festival or any of the festivals, whether they're in Edinburgh or in any of the other nations, that's also a good opportunity to come and meet producers on the ground, especially in the industry parts of the programs. And keep an eye out for any events we might be organizing, but we're definitely keen to foster those connections and to make sure they can happen more easily.
Great. And as well, also at the Dominican Republic Film Commission, we're glad to serve as a connection between Dominican producers and UK producers through you as well. Okay, we have another question. What is the amount given to each coproduction? ¿Cuál es el monto otorgado a cada una de las coproducciones?
So it's 300,000 as a non-recoupable grant, but it has been very oversubscribed, to be honest, in the pilot year. So we haven't been able to distribute the whole amount. So it really depends on how many projects apply. The maximum it was 225,000. So it really depends. It's a range.
Básicamente dicen que el monto, que el total, el máximo ha sido 300,000 libras esterlinas, pero lo que han otorgado en ocasiones ha sido el máximo 225,000 libras, pero todo depende del proyecto y de los criterios que apliquen. Okay, we have another question. What are the creative requirements in the case of doing a post-production with these funds? Could they pay a post-production person that has a studio in the Dominican Republic?
So first, I'll probably start answering, and Attica can correct me if I get anything wrong. So the grant that we give can only be used against the UK elements. So a studio based in the Dominican Republic will not be a UK element. In that case, it will be the element on the Dominican Republic side. But the fund can support post-production if the studio is based in the UK, for example. That can be used against, the grant can be used against that. But what we were talking about creative elements, we were saying that we wouldn't like post-production to be the only element. So we expect additional elements that are creative, as in, for example, actor or a DOP or voiceover artist, etc. That's a UK national. Even if they are working in the Dominican Republic, that is acceptable. But they would count towards the UK elements.
Okay, so regarding this question, básicamente mencionan que con lo que se refieren con los elementos creativos, no solamente la postproducción, sino también si tienen algún actor, algún voiceover o algún componente adicional. E igualmente, la parte que aplica en el Reino Unido sí debe ser solicitada por el productor en UK para que aplique al fondo. Y la parte de República Dominicana, en el caso, a través de la República Dominicana. Okay, so this person is a producer, a film producer, and he wants to know how to make the application.
Well, it will go through the UK producer, so it's the UK producer who will make the application. I don't know if you can share maybe the link, or I can share with you and you can share with the producers the link to make the application so they can see what sort of questions we will ask.
Sí, entonces básicamente lo que explican es que quien tiene que hacer la solicitud al fondo de UK es el productor del Reino Unido. No puede aplicar a alguien desde República Dominicana. Can we apply for UK Global Screen Fund International Distribution Strand with the UK DR co-production?
So the answer is it depends whether your sales agent is a UK sales agent, because for the sales support at the moment, it's UK sales agents who can make the application. When we launched the new form of support under the distribution strand, which is the print and advertising support, in that case, the applicant will still need to be a UK entity, but unlike the other strand, which was UK sales agent, this will be UK sales agent or UK producer. So if you have a UK co-producer, this may be eligible depending on what type of co-production it is. So when we publish the guidelines for that print and advertising support, which we expect to open in the autumn this year, this will be a little bit more clear. I think there is still a little bit of obviously a difference between what was in the pilot year and what's going to come next. So if you have a specific project, do email us at the general email address, and also specify what type of support you might be interested in. The sort of general sales support track, which is if your project has a UK sales agent, that will open earlier this summer, hopefully around August timeframe. So for that, if you're interested in that, then we can help direct you and let you know when we expect to open.
Básicamente con respecto a esta pregunta es si podían aplicar a la sección del UK Global Screen Fund correspondiente a la sección de distribución internacional. Básicamente mencionan que esta parte en específico es para agentes de venta, pero ellos estarían felices de compartirnos más información en el caso de que algún proyecto de una coproducción de UK y República Dominicana quisiera aplicar a esa sección del fondo. Entonces entiendo que ya esta es la última pregunta que tenemos. This is the last question that we have. So thank you so much, Denitza, Natica, and now Mariana, our film commissioner, will want to speak.
As Leah said, sorry for that. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. Thank you, Atika and Denitza, for your time and for presenting this wonderful opportunity for Dominican producers. I think the general terms, the key here, again, is to find the right UK co-producer to apply for the funds. As Leah said, we will be happy to get all of your questions. This is for the Dominican producers. And whoever is interested in co-producing under this fund, please do send us an email and we would be very happy to help you out. We expect to be in London mid-October for the Dominican Week, as Miriam probably has mentioned. If not, well, there you go. And I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity for Dominican producers to connect with UK producers. Again, thank you so much, Attica and Denitza. Thank you, everyone. Gracias a los productores dominicanos que han mostrado su interés. Los que quieran más información, por favor, contáctenos, escríbanle a Lía o escríbanos a nosotros. Nosotros felices de pasarle más información. Nosotros pretendemos estar en octubre, la Semana Dominicana, en Londres, y sería una oportunidad muy interesante para los productores dominicanos que deseen conectar con los productores británicos. O sea que, por favor, comiencen a mandar sus preguntas, expresiones de interés, y vamos a ver cómo llevamos un buen equipito para allá.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Bueno, thank you, everyone.